What's happening, party peoples of the universe out there on the internet? It's episode 2 of Kolter in the studio, and today we're gonna go through the Gangster Boogie track. I know the voting said that we're gonna go through 50 seconds of it, but I'm gonna do that another time. And because I want to help you guys out there to be as much of a gangster as I am. Let's get rid of that. Anyway, let's go dive into it. Switch over. Boom. Let's see if this time it worked, because I just did a whole fucking 45 minutes of recording this, and then the Ableton music sound didn't came through. This time it's working. Okay. So, as like most of the time, I like to start out my track with a basic drum groove, drum pattern. Occasionally there are times where I like to start out with a synth line or like a bass pattern. But even with the bass pattern, I like to have a kick sitting in the background. So it's most of the time comes down to choosing a kick drum sample in the beginning of the track. For this one, I chose a kick sample which is kind of short and already has a high frequency for it to stand out in the mix later on. Basically with a hi-hat sitting on top of it already. Fills out the whole spectrum already really nicely. No processing on it since it's sampled from somewhere else, so already it's already good like it is. Leave it as it is. And for the Gangster Boogie project, I wanted to dive in, or at this day I felt like I wanted to dive into the actual Ableton drum racks a little bit more, because just going through these at some point, I thought like there's so many great in-house packs already in there, and these are bass drums, but there are so many kits in there which have nice samples in it that I wanted to go through them and make the drums in this one. So the hi-hats, which are sounding like this, really basic groove, I got from the BNYX boot kit, which is when you hit the preview sounding like this. Kind of boom bap, hip hop kind of inspired pack, but I really love the hi-hats in it because they sound really 808ish, and 808 always sounds good. So did this pattern with it, and it's basic 16 bar, I would say, groove. Really on point, nothing swingy in it, it's really robotic, but maybe a little bit of a swing comes from having a hi-hat sitting on the one with a little bit of a lower velocity actually. So this one is on 60 velocity. You can change the velocity of a sample in here of the MIDI note by just hitting command on your keyboard and then clicking on it with your mouse and dragging it up and down. Okay, there we got this pattern going. And to give the offbeat head a little bit more of a gritty feel, I searched for a drum kit which has like a more of an acoustic feel, a live played feel, and the Batu kit did just that. So I like the hi-hat in this one, and used this one and just recorded the open head like this. So it's a very stereo. Then, as you know, most of the time I like to have like a little bit of an atmosphere going, whether it be like a synth pad or some kind of field recording. This one, I removed it later in the drop, so I have more space for the rest of the mix. But in the intro, I use this one. Kind of like an alien, I don't know, dystopian kind of atmosphere. But it sounds like it because it used to be 37 semitones higher, like this. And that is just a basic field recording from, could be anything, I don't know. But yeah, I pitched it down 37 semitones, probably was an accident, but I felt like, oh, this sounds like it's out in space somewhere. Beep, boop, beep, beep, boop. Yeah, and use that as the kind of intro thing to give it already a little bit of a tonality, this track. Really cool. Then, after some time, after 8 bars, we introduce the clap, which is a combination of 2 sounds. One clap kind of snare. Yeah, it's more a snare. And the other one is like a clap to give it a little bit of stereo width as well. Together they sound like this. Yeah, and did like a groovy kind of element in between, like this. Again, on the straight 16th note, because this track is gonna be like a really robotic groove, at least drum wise. Nothing else but a low cut on these clap / snare. And also at this point we already regrooved the bass, which is going to be the main ingredient for this track, I think, because it's a really characteristic solid bass. It is a sample from Vengeance Essential Club Sounds here. Something like this pattern is going to be, but it's coming in as a low cut and already also not revealing the full note spectrum of the bass line yet. It's just 2 notes. I like to do this in the beginning of the tracks to just tease a little bit of what's coming, you know. There it's being revealed what kind of bass note it's going to be, but not really which notes it's going to play. A lot of delays happening as well. Some of the synths also coming in. This one being a really like airy, vocally one, really harsh metallic sounding, coming from the Blue 3. Which is one of my favorite plugins, and it's probably coming from like an arpeggiated sound. That's why I froze it and I wanted this exact sound to play, because with arpeggiated sounds or modulated sounds, as they sometimes are programmed from the Blue 3, it always can play a different kind of way, and I wanted it to exactly play it the way that I froze it here. See, there are the different kind of ways, and I chose this one. Also a little atmospheric sound coming in, which I played in with the Nord lead. Yeah, I think the note pattern is also really kind of gangsterish, you know, like. Stop. We got a little bit more of the bass notes revealing itself here. It's becoming, instead of just 2 bars, it's becoming a 4-bar loop now. Revealing a little bit more of the notes which are to come on the main drop. Playing this one. With a lot of reverb on it. And if you look into the processing of this sample, I tried to boost a little bit of the highs from this sample, because I really, really wanted to stand out in the mix as well, and not just cover the low end. I did that by boosting the highs, by putting a little bit of erosion on it. I always do this with bass sounds, to put a little bit of erosion on it with a sine, you know, adds a little bit of a sine, as it already says. Then I like to put a utility on it most of the time and click on the bass mono function. It means that everything from below 120 Hertz of this sample is going to be converted to mono, and especially for bassline, this is really, really important. I only do it if it feels like the bass sound is a bit stereo. But once it's being transmitted or being played out on a mono system, it can really, really lose its punchiness and its deepness. So this is what I like to do on this sample, just to be secure with everything. I added a redux, which is basically a downsampling method, and is also adding some top harmonies to it by crushing the sample, by bit crushing it. It's basically kind of, you can make the sound Game Boyish, you know, make it sound like it comes out of a Game Boy if you max out the effect. And yeah, just a little bit of delay again for breaks and fill out the empty spaces in between the notes. Yeah, really, really cool sound there. Characteristic. And there the first part of the vocal sample, which is going to be revealed later on, is playing, but it's being stretched. So the main kind of topic of the track obviously is the gangster, is being a gangster.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Wanting to be a gangster, obviously. So I used the gangster part.
Gangster.
And put it in the beginning here of the first kind of break, and I stretched it to the max. So it does weird things if you stretch it, depending on the grain size, the flux and everything, and the warping mode especially. Here I put it on texture and left the grain size and flux on its standard values, I think. Yeah, if you play with the grain size, there's some really, really alien sounds coming out of this sample. Yeah, use this to kind of introduce the gangster, so you can kind of hear him say gangster already, but not really too clear. I really like to tease again, you know, what's coming, the listener there at this point. Another part of the gangster, more of a rhythmic one. Yeah, there you can see I also played with a delay here. This is another way of kind of modulating the vocal. Here I modulated the time. Yeah, it goes by just modulating the time here. It's really being cut off as well. And the reverb as well, you know, really get the most out of the vocal sample that you have there. Oh, and also the first synth. Also kind of like an orchestralic feel to it. Let's see what this sample is. Yeah. At Night I Dream. This is the sample, what is it called? I don't know where I got this one from.
At night I dream of many things, some of which I plan and save for, some of which I achieve. When I was young, I wanted to see Africa, to run away. And so I traveled, but never left.
Uh-huh. Okay. Seems like while searching for possible samples, I think I really liked the analog sounding pad underneath this sample. I could have used AI maybe to get rid of the vocal on top, but it just happened to be the first note played, which already made the cut for me. Again, I think with the gangster feel for a track, you get that by adding like live cellos and orchestral elements, you know? It really sounds like epic and I don't know, gangster, like whatever. Oh, and it also has a cool like vocal airy sound in it that I now heard. There's somebody breathing in or something, so that's cool.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Yeah, and there the bass line goes, has its first form, going up a little bit as well, you know, like it reveals itself more. And to get to that moment, to tease that first drop, I added like a reverse kick drum, but I didn't use the one that I have in the track actually, because I felt like I need something a little bit more with like a bottom end to it, and this one is more like a punchy kick drum, so I searched for an 808 bass drum, which usually has like a really rich low end, like this one.
Remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. Gangster. Gangster boogie, gangster boogie. Gangster.
Repeating the gangsters from the main sample which I got before, and then also what I like to do is as soon as I have like a topic for the track, and I covered this in the breakdown of the of who you're talking to as well. As soon as I have a topic for a track, I like to just use the search function in Ableton or YouTube to see what other samples there are in this world in the same kind of realm. And I found this Gangster Boogie one. I think that was on my hard drive sitting, saying this.
Gangster boogie, gangster boogie.
And it also is in the same kind of key, I noticed, and I just put it in. I changed the timing of the gangster thing a little bit from this.
Gangster boogie, gangster boogie. Gangster boogie, gangster boogie. Gangster boogie, gangster boogie.
Gangster.
Yeah, fitted perfectly in there. And this is as well the name of the track now.
Gangster boogie, gangster boogie.
Gangster.
Then at this point I added a little funk hit. Those who know me know that I like to put my funk hits in there. And I seem to have discovered it the same way that I discovered the other vocal sample which came in before, by putting in the gangster into my search bar here. And this one was...
You want a fresh style? Let me show you.
No, I only want your funk hit in the beginning.
You want a fresh style? Let me show you.
Nice. Also a nice snare drum there in the end to sample.
You want a fresh style? Let me show you.
So chose this little funk hit and I put it on the one, and I think really elevates the track's groove.
Gangster.
First synthesizers coming in there, played in with the Blue 3 again, and nothing on the processing chain for this one because it sounded just sick the way it came out of there. It's like an arpeggiated sound, that's why there's only one note playing.
Gangster.
It's one of the standard presets that comes with the Blue.
Gangster.
You do it in the streets.
Some more vocals which support the gangster role, you know, you do it in the streets.
Do it in the streets. You do it at home.
What do you do at home? Huh? What? Huh? Cooking.
You do it in the street. You don't make up for your sins in the church.
Ah, sins.
The rest is bullshit and you know it.
Yeah, that I know. The rest of the track is bullshit and I know it.
You do it in the streets. You do it at home.
Lead sound. Again, played with the Nord lead, this one.
You do it at home. You do it in the streets.
Ah yeah, and also something which I forgot to cover before. Another open hi-hat is added on the drop. Not the classic 909 stuff, but the really, really gritty stuff. Where I used, not the beginning even of the... Yeah, has too much crazy transients in the beginning, so I only used the later part of it, and I wanted it to be short as well. Along with that came like an open hi-hat as well here, which is kind of simulating the drummer opening his hi-hat actually, you know? Yeah, and a more of a shuffle snare drum here.
Gangster.
Fills up the drum groove really nicely, I think, and gives it that other element of richness. Yeah.
Do it at home. You do it in the streets.
Yeah, tiny little chord step here. I think it doesn't even... Yeah, it appears at other parts in the track as well, but really just adding like a tiny little detail in the groove as well.
You do it.
After all, it's deep house, right?
You do it at home.
I don't.
And this is the first big break, the main break. Used another blue arpeggiated sound, again with nothing on it. That sounds like this. Just as the introduction element for the break. And here I have a recording, something which I recorded with Sample, I think, which is a Chrome plugin on my browser, where I can just sample anything which comes straight out of YouTube or just out of the browser in general. You just click on record and then you can record anything that comes out of your browser. And it's really, really helpful if you want to like avoid downloading everything through YouTube converters and all this shit. So if it's named recording like this, it's most of the time stuff which I recorded from YouTube. Basic melody, but again, like this really, really cool gangster kind of, yeah, what is it, a cello or something? Yeah, I think it must be a cello or something. I don't know. What's the whole sample sound like?
Nothing personal. It's just business. And I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
No. Okay. It must have been like a video of all the cool gangster quotes. But I remember, I think it was like one of those really, really cheesy AI generated videos where, yeah, the voice obviously is AI. And it could be that the background cello is as well, but it sounded cool, so I just cut up like the background cello for it to play like a really, really simple melody in the background. Yeah, and by just listening to that, you already see Don Corleone stroking his cat and, oh no, smoking his cigar and saying these things. But yeah, instead I used this one with the environment.
I don't want to be a product of my environment. I want my environment to be a product of me. Cause I'm a gangster.
Ah, why? Because I'm a gangster, that's why.
Cause I'm a gangster.
Again, another vocal sample I found in my Ableton. Cause I'm a gangster.
Cause I'm a gangster.
The bass line again being on a cut off variation leading up to the next drop here. With a lot of reverb to make the room big, you know, and to give it a really big difference once the reverb is being removed again in the drop. Then the atmosphere coming in, but this time at a higher pitch again. Because the lower frequency spectrum is already being used by this kind of cello thing. So now the atmosphere can have a little bit more of a higher frequency. Right? That's what I thought, I think.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
And I didn't wanted this vocal part to be the this drop to be the same as the first one. So I used the main vocal a little bit before, and then I put one of the most iconic kind of film. Lost for words right now. It's on my tongue. The movie, the most iconic movie sequence in there where Scarface is there on this balcony saying he's reloading and stuff. In there, downloaded a YouTube video of 3 gunshots. Used the reloading sound like this. But bop. Yeah, the gunshots obviously from the pack, and the I'm reloading one is actually not from Scarface. They used it in there and they quoted a different movie. I can't remember what the movie was called right now, but if you look it up, it's paying homage to another movie actually where he says that. Here's the full quote if you want to see what he's saying, because I used it from the original movie.
Okay? Come on in here, motherfuckers! Come on, I'm waiting for you! Why, you ain't coming in? Okay, I'm coming out! Are you up against it now, I'm gonna blow your fucking brains out! You think you're big time?
You think a big time? Sweet. Okay, so use this part obviously, which is also in the Scarface movie. And then the bass line even goes up, like gets a little bit more of a variation even by adding these notes in, these two. Instead of the other bass line which was there before. So just these tiny little variations, I think, can add enough variation for the listener to be pleased again and to have something new coming in. Apart from that, same stuff as before. But now a super dope lead sound coming in, which was played in with the blue. and it's, I don't know, it sounds super cool. It has a glide function as well, so not every note is being actually played from the beginning, but more like being slidden down and up depending. And I also put like a redux on it as well, again, to give it a little bit more of a higher frequency spectrum there. Without. Yeah, so it really gives that cosmic feel to it, I think.
Gangster. Gangster. Gangster.
Okay, as you can hear, this is like a really, really different section to the rest of the track. The bass line gets much more melodic, much more simple as well, because it's not doing all these high notes, but more like a really, really simple groove, but actually hitting different notes. So I feel like this is a little bit of a special section in the track, which I like the most, to be honest, but doesn't work with the rest. Doesn't work without the rest of the track, because there's like three new elements essentially coming in, or two new ones, and the third one is just a variation. But there's a square lead. It's played in from the Nord lead, I think, as well, or the Juno, I don't know. Any synth can do this kind of sound, but this one is super special because those chords are epic. I played them also in probably with the Nord lead, I think. But as you can see from the session, which is super big, I left the track running in like a loop mode for a little bit, and I was searching on the Juno or the Nord lead for some cool chords to put in. So let's see. Let's see what I actually was playing before. There I was coming close to the preset that I actually used. I tweaked it probably. Yeah, and then got the idea of playing chords there. Thought this sounds cool, and then just use these. Pad.
I don't want to be a product of my environment. I want my environment to be a product of me.
Coming back into the main topic and groove that we had going on before, I feel like now was the time where everything was revealed, and we just to end this track or to let it run out, we need like just a strong groove section now to get back into. Did kind of the same thing I did in the beginning by just teasing the bass line again. This time not being low cut though, and yeah, using the full sound again.
Gangster. Gangster.
Gangster boogie, gangster boogie.
Gangster. Gangster.
Yeah, going back into the sick groove from the beginning there. As just a slight variation I did was that I put the funk hit that I usually put every 8 bars, I put it on every 4 bars now. And then I let the track run out. Like, yeah, again, like in the beginning. It's basically the same. In the last breakdown, a few people asked me like what's gonna be on my master chain. Usually not really that much. I have a deactivated pre-master utility sitting here, which is like the button I click basically when I render out the pre-master, and it's just going to put the gain down by -5 dB to leave a lot of headroom for the actual mastering engineer to work his magic on there. If I want to play out my track on the weekend or while DJing, there are a few mastering presets that Ableton offers already. Master, yeah. Which is, for example, I use the master punchy dance on this one, and it has different presets like flat, light comp, heavy comp, boomy, bright parallel, and all the macro variations here, which you can tweak then for it to sound cool. But there are also like master like stereo enhance, wide and warm, parallel punch, overdriven tape, meaty analog, depending on which kind of feel you're trying to go for the track. But most of the time you don't really need to add much, because in the end it comes down to having a good mix down, and a good mastering chain is not going to develop like not make the tracks super crazy different. It's just the last 2% to polish it, or to remove some frequencies which you haven't heard before in the mix or something. So yeah, apart from that, yeah, which something which I forgot to say is that I have a thing called the Maxoscope on it. So whenever I want to check elements visually, I can, for example, the whole track visually. You can see here.
Do it in the streets.
It gives me the same kind of view that you would have if you look on it on a CDJ on it or something. And it really helps me to get a feel for the different elements, how they blend together, how much of a peak they have, because sometimes I don't hear how loud an element is, because I don't know, there's different factors which come into it, like the compression and everything. So whenever I want to check a bass sound, for example, I solo it here, go to the main channel and look at it here. Make the test together with the kick, for example. Yeah, and there I can visually see the elements playing. You can do the same thing with a spectrum analyzer from Ableton as well, or different plugins. Some people even have like second screens for this kind of stuff. I don't. This one is dope. And I have a camel fed on here. Those who have seen my lessons in live videos know that I just have it there as a limiter in the beginning, so nothing clips into the red, but it doesn't show anything because it's outdated. You know, it still works, but it doesn't show the graphical user interface anymore for me because it's so old. Yeah. Okay, apart from that, I think we've gone through everything we've gone through everything. If you have any more questions about stuff which I haven't covered in the video, you can let me know in the comments and I'll try to answer them there. Apart from that, yeah, thanks for tuning in. Don't subscribe that channel because yeah, just don't. Better don't do it. Don't. Bye bye.